Welcome to Is It Beer Yet Video Edition. I am Matt, and this is part of our 13 beers for Halloween from neozaz.com, and we are up to beer number 10. We're finally in double digits, and this is hopefully going to be a fun one. At least the inspiration, the label design, the style, and just about everything about this was fun to put together. So this is VAM IPA 87. So just by the name, you can probably guess, by the name it says IPA. You might even be able to guess its inspiration to some extent, even if you don't know Halloween Horror Nights. Vamp, Vampires. Halloween Horror Nights 28 has a Scarezone called Vamp 85. I think the full name is Vamp 85 New Year's Eve, but it's Vamp 85 is the main inspiration from it. So I took the idea of vampires and ran with that. It's a red IPA, so we got the color inspiration. I haven't done a straight up IPA by intentionally, that's the word I'm looking for. I know Twisted Tater 2, I said by style definition, I think falls in the IPA range, but I was kind of just testing a hop on that. This was, or is, intended to be an IPA, so we're going to find out. And just had a lot of fun putting the idea together, making it red, calling it Vamp 87. 87 comes from, it was when I did a quick cursory count on my ingredients list, I thought I counted 7 separate ingredients. Now when it comes to the hops, there's some repeated, but I missed one and there's 8. But, well, I guess I kind of missed the point of the story. I took the 7 and called it 87 instead of 85 and really, really liked how that sounded. Then when I went to double check everything, turns out there's 8 ingredients. For some reason, Vamp IPA 88 doesn't sound as good as Vamp IPA 87 to me, so I just kept the name. So that's where that comes from. It was an accurate description of the recipe. Now it's just a number. So let's get into exactly what those ingredients are. I don't have everything documented for this particular one. This one was done, now we're hitting double digits, so we're getting into crunch time. And the first thing that had to go in some of these upcoming beers was the documentation or the whatever I was doing for the beer, the videos, the pictures, documenting the process, because now the goal to get 13 beers was looming. And well, we'll talk more about that in future beers. So let's get to what I do have. I have some pictures here. And it starts with the base malts. That is 2 pounds, 6 ounces of two-row pale malt. Then 4 ounces of Munich malt, 2.7 ounces of Crystal 60L malt, 0.8 ounces of 120L malt, and 0.5 ounces of roasted malt. And those last 3, really the last 2, are going to bring that red color. At least that is the intention of them. Milled twice, then mashed with 2.75 gallons of water at 153 degrees for an hour, then brought it up to a boil. That is the end of the picture. So I'm going to go ahead and read the hop, what the hops are, the measurements, and where I put them into boil now with, no pictures or video this time. We start off with 0.09 ounces of Columbus hops at 20 minutes. Note here real quick, or I'm going to note that these are all late addition hops. There is no true bittering hop. So it's going to have, in theory, a multi base and then carrying just, which should be a ton of hops for this particular IPA. So again, has 0.09 ounces of Columbus hops at 20 minutes, then 0.19 ounces of Mosaic hops at 15 minutes, 0.019 Amarillo hops at 10 minutes. That is one of my favorite hops to use in general, particularly in IPAs. Then after that, did a whirlpool, and I'm actually, I wish I had been able to video this or been prepared to video this, because this is the only beer that features a whirlpool edition. But I intend to continue to do video editions of this series, and it's certainly going to come up again. So unfortunately, I don't have it for the one and only in this 13 set intro to this series, but it'll come up again. What it is the whirlpool. It is what it sounds. You get the wort. At this point, it is wort spinning, and then you drop in your hops and let them sit in that whirlpool for X amount of minutes. In this case, it was a 15-minute whirlpool, and it was around 180 degrees with the 1 gallon batch. I kind of started at 180 because I knew it would, or I'm sorry, I started at like 190 because I knew it was going to drop pretty quickly when I took it off the heat. And I think it held to about 176, 175 range. So It was a little hotter than I would do with a 5-gallon batch, but hopefully it's going to give me the same results. I've done this before, not with this recipe, not with the red IPA, but with another IPA. So hopefully it does something similar, or at least gets the same kind of outcome in this one. I don't know. That's part of the experiment here. But anyway, I never even mentioned what those hops are. There's a big hop addition here. So that for that 15-minute whirlpool, 0.19 ounces of Amarillo and 0.19 ounces of Mosaic. So almost as much hops as has been added up to this point, except for that addition of Columbus at 20 minutes. So of course from there, chilled it to about 70 degrees and pitched 3.3 grams of Safel US 04 on this one again. It's a use that's appeared in many of these. After 5 days of fermentation, I did a dry hop addition, and that was 0.20 ounces of Mosaic and 0.10 ounces of Columbus. So another 0.30 ounces of dry hopping for about another 5 days. Then I cold crashed it, and the cold crashing, I started for 2 days. Altogether, it was in the refrigerator for 4 days, and let me explain why. And again, I wish I had pictures for this, but unfortunately I do not. For 2 days, I let it cold crash to let the major sediment fall to the bottom of the fermenter. If you recall the Scary Tales episode, which was a few days ago, if you're new to this episode, it's on the playlist or it's in our videos on our channel. It was a little murky. It doesn't have the same exact malts, but has a similar type of malts, and I expected the same result, and I wanted to see if I could clear it. And I did that by adding gelatin into the batch for another 2 days inside the refrigerator at about 40 degrees. And by gelatin, I mean gelatin, but it was plain gelatin, no flavor, no color, obviously. Normally you use, I think, about a quarter teaspoon in about a third of a cup of water. I eyeballed it. I kind of just took like a pinch and a half, like maybe not even an eighth of a teaspoon, a little less than that, in very, very little water. It was about at 150 degrees. Make sure it was pasteurized, basically. And once that kind of all not disappeared, but incorporated in the water, dissolved into the water, then I poured it in there. I gave it a very, very gentle stir, make sure I didn't break the surface of the liquid on top to add oxygen to the beer. I let it sit for 2 more days, and then bottled with corn sugar and let it sit for 3 weeks as usual at room temperature. And then here we are. And what I'm most interested in seeing, first I'm interested to see if it actually cleared it. I'm also interested to see what kind of carbonation we have, because there are yeast in suspension that don't necessarily fall out in normal cold crashing. I don't know how much the findings would take out, especially in such a small batch. So the carbonation is the first thing I'm going to take a look at here. And of course, I have to do the label. I was going to say, before I forget to say it, the first way we find out the carbonation is to pop the cap and we see if we get a hiss. So that's what I was going to say, in case I forget to say it after we talk about the label. So let's talk about the label. So very 80s inspired graphic. I don't think there's any explanation behind this. Vamp IPA 87. I don't think there's anything about that background, the font, the coloring of the font, or that /87 for the whole Halloween/Halloween Horror Nights theme that needs any more explanation than that. So let's go over to the left side of the label. It says, and this is a nod to the New Year's Eve portion of that Scarezone, says 3, 2, 1, Happy New. It's assuming the reader got bit by a vampire. So the clock struck 12, and the creatures of the night descend on the streets and take over the party. Glasses raised and jugulars open. The mix of blood and beer is this New Year's craze. So my serving suggestion says, pour in the glass and drink. It thins the blood. So lots of vampire references there. No, there is no blood in this. I didn't need to point that out, but just in case someone played this video and wasn't paying attention to the past 10 minutes and all of a sudden heard blood inside beer in a glass, no, there's no blood in this. Over on the other side of the label, it says, celebrating the Vamp 85 Scarezone at Halloween Horror Nights 28. There's my spelling error, at least the first one for this label. No R on the end of horror. At Universal Studios Orlando, VAM IPA 87 is a robust red IPA with 7 distinct ingredients. Well, okay, 8, which I found out later. So I don't call that a typo because I thought I was right. So 7 distinct ingredients in the grain bill and hop boil. So, all right, let's get to that first test and popping the cap and see if we get a hiss, if we have any kind of carbonation. We do. We have it. Oh, actually, quite a good cloud rolled off of that. In fact, we have quite a bit of activity in the neck, so I think my fears for carbonation were ill-founded. I would say so. Okay. Wow. Okay, that is, holy cow. That might be the biggest head we've gotten on any of these pours. So forget those issues with carbonation I was thinking were possible. That is obviously not a problem. In fact, this is gonna be. I don't know if I'm gonna wait this out. All right, so let's move on. Waiting this out is just gonna take too long. So lighting where I'm sitting right now in front of the camera is not good. So I'm holding it up to the light. I can see two things. One, it's very clear. So the clearing worked. And it's very red. The lights, I'm pointing it right to a light that is pointed directly at me, and they are blood red. So it's not only red, but it's the red that's certainly not only style appropriate, but name appropriate. So that is killing me. I kind of poured, I think maybe I didn't do it on purpose, but I think I maybe subconsciously poured aggressively to see if there's carbonation, and now that's not going away. So, but let's get to the rest of it. Let's check out what the aroma is like. Super hoppy. In fact, there is the Amarillo is really coming out. The orange for it, I should say, at least. One of the reasons Amarillo is one of my favorite hops to use, because it imparts a usually citrus on the orange side of citrus flavor and aroma pretty easily, and pretty what's the word I'm looking for? Pretty I can't think of consistently. And I smell the orange hop. That is the predominant flavor. I'm sorry, yeah, this is a good one. Predominant aroma. And there's a hint of sweet, which I expect as well, because there's been no real bittering addition. There's been hops added to this. There's going to be bittering, but there's not a bittering addition at the 60-minute mark. And those malts, especially malts, are really heavy. So there's a sweetness to it. But that Amarillo is really doing exactly what I wanted it to do. So it's just this pleasant orange, like fresh orange, like just breaking open an orange, and that kind of spray of the oils you get right under your nose if you're holding it in front of you. That's the exact aroma with the earthiness and herbalness and the kind of that common hop aroma you get with all the hops. I really like that. So, all right, I think it's time to taste, because I don't think there's much more in there, and I think my mind won't let me find much more because it just loves that Amarillo aroma so much. So let's give it a taste. Okay, the IPA style is there. What's interesting, it's a little thinner than I thought. I thought with those really strong malts, I was going to have a little more sweetness to it, and in fact, there's no sweet. It's very hoppy and a little thin. Like, it could use probably another 10-ish%. Hard to tell when you're talking about 1 gallon numbers, but in the 5 gallon range, I'd say another like 5 to 10% of a base malt to give it a little more body. So it's a little thin, but with the hops, it seems to work well. Let me see if I can get some more descriptors in there. The hop taste is amazing. It's like I'm not saying that because of the way it was brewed. I'm saying the hops that are in here, the Mosaic and Amarillo, are just such a, when they're used in the proportions they should be. I have had some beers that had way too many of actually both. Mosaic being a really hot hop, like this time last year. That's a little too much in this case. The hop flavor is good. In fact, this is a very good representation of what these two hops can do together, because otherwise there's not a lot of malt to it, and I'm okay with that. So let me see if I can pull something out of it beyond the hops. I'm really not. I'm struggling to get some caramel out of there, which is super interesting to me that this is so red, and I'm not getting a single caramel model out of it. It's all hops, and it's kind of a bit of a array of hops. The Mosaic, the little bit of everything that it is, the earthiness, the floral, that's the first thing I taste as I'm drinking it. Yep, it's kind of just that undersells it. It's a hop forward beer. It's an IPA. The body's a little thin. That's about my only complaint to it, and that's easy to fix. I'm really enjoying these hops together. I've had Mosaic and Amarillo and other beers together before, and beers I've made. Columbus is kind of a new addition. I think that might be where the bitter's coming from. I don't know the profile of Columbus off the top of my head enough to tell which one the bitter's coming from, but there's a bitterness I'm not recognizing, and I think I know Amarillo enough to know it's not that. And I might have enough experience with Mosaic to say it's not that, but I'm not entirely sure. So it may be the Columbus, only because I'm not recognizing the bitterness, and that's the newest addition to this. So I am, this is probably the longest tasting ever, which is, I'm finding kind of interesting, because as far as the body goes, it's super thin. I don't want to hammer on the things that are maybe wrong with it or aren't highlights of it, but I'm surprised it is with the 3 specialty hops we put in there. So it's kind of, again, it's a surprising thing to be stating, but let me see if I got any, now that it's kind of breathed a little bit in the heat in this room, the temperatures rose, I might get just 1 or 2 more characteristics out of it. I'm going to try that real quick before we wrap up. Now, it didn't really expand any of the flavors, but it's still good. It's a hophead would really like this beer. Scoring it is a little difficult because I really like it, but I don't think I'd make it this way again. And I think that's kind of the parameter I set, isn't it? If the recipe is going to stay the same or largely the same, it's a point. So it's not, because I'm going to put some more body in this, but I'm not going to mess with the hops. The hops can stay the way they are. I just want a little bit of want to liven up those malts a little bit. So yeah, I guess that's not a point. Oh man, we're on such a good roll there. I want to give another point, but I guess if I want to be honest about this project, it's not a point. But man, these beers I'm not giving a point to are probably the best way not to get a point, because look, I mean, this is going down. This is I'm gonna look at it. That the carbonation is killing me, because that shouldn't have happened from all what I know about this. So I'm happy. I guess I learned something, that is not a concern in the findings, and it's clear. It is still quite clear, even towards the bottom of the bottle. That's where the sediment should really lie if it wasn't going to clear. So it cleared very well in the fermenter. So anyway, okay, I think we're ready to wrap up. No point on that. That's still 7 for 13. We're over 50%. If this was baseball, we'd be picked up by every major league team out there, I think. Dave from Neozaz can correct that statement if it's wrong, because I kind of actually learned that fact from Price is Right, believe it or not. If that's true, if it's a true fact. If not, then Bob Barker lied to me. Anyway, okay, that is it for this episode. If you're new to to our channel, please subscribe. Hit the little bell icon to be notified when our next episodes are out. Leave a comment, suggestion, or question at the bottom of the page, and I'll answer it as quick as I can. And that's it. I'll be back with beer number 11. 11. I can't believe we actually are this close to 13. It felt like this whole project felt like something I would never finish, and now I can't believe it's almost over, even to the point of tasting everything. But we're not quite there yet. It's number 11 tomorrow. So until then, thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you for watching Is It Beer Yet Video Edition. Is It Beer Yet is part of the Neozaz.com Internet Entertainment Network. Visit Neozaz.com for all our podcasts, including the original Is It Beer Yet Home Brewing audio series. Follow our social media pages for more on this project and all the beers and brewing we do at Neozaz.com. We're Neozaz Podcasts on Facebook, Neozaz on Instagram, and at Neozaz on Twitter. If you'd like to learn how you can help support the work we do and get access to exclusive content, check out our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/Neozaz. And you can always send us a message directly at the email address podcast@neozaz.com. Thanks again for watching.